All right, we are live now. Welcome everybody to another Dad University Live. I'm Jason Crichton.
We are live now.
We are going to answer some questions for today. Let me turn my volume down, otherwise I hear myself, which is not fun. Yeah. So, hey, what's up, John? A64 official. Michael, what's happening? Good to see everybody. What's up, John? If you guys have questions, put them in the chat. Be happy to answer them if I can. I like to preface with the fact that I am not an expert in everything. There's certain areas that I focus in on, and if I can help in those ways, I'll do that. If I can't, I will also help you there. I will help you by telling you that I can't help you. So, audio echo again. We got. Thank you, Michael. It's a good thing that I don't do the audio because it would be even worse. Do you got it? Is it good now? Michael, let me know if it's better now. Let's see. Let me turn on my audio and I can see if... I think so. I think we're all right. Did you know what it was? Did you get it?
Not 100% sure.
Okay. Let us know if the audio is echoing or if the audio is okay. We just want to make sure all is good. Jonathan, I'm doing good. Okay, Michael says better. Congratulations, John. Your first baby girl. That's awesome. Rafa Morales, first question here. Let's take it. First time dad, son's being born in 2 to 4 weeks in Colombia via C-section. What can I do to prepare? I want to support the mom. What should I do to prepare for the baby shower? Well, first, good thing to do about supporting mom is asking her. I know some people don't feel great about doing that as if you should just know. But the thing about it is that every woman is different. Some women like... you being, physically supportive by doing tasks around the house. Other women are to say, you know what, be supportive by just leaving me alone. So I think you have to ask your wife individually. There's certainly those tasks like helping more, with whatever she is responsible for. I still got my sound on. So let's say she, does the laundry on a regular basis. Well, then you can help out with the laundry. Or, if she's the one who typically does X, Y, or Z, then help out more with that. If that's what you mean as far as helping her. But I do think that asking her is one of the best things you can do. And preparing for a baby shower, again, for some people that's really important. For other people it's not. I would say for her, same, or for this situation, same thing. How can I help if she's the one putting on the baby shower? In some areas, men are not part of the baby shower, and then for other people they are. Like we didn't have a baby shower, so that's just our stuff. So, John, first nights alone with the child terrifies me. Any tips to relax? Yeah, I think, there's only so many things that, a brand newborn, the baby is either going to sleep, eat, needs to be changed, and is crying because of one of those things. Either the baby's tired, has to eat, has gas, something. You will be okay. The best thing that you can do is just hold and comfort the baby and begin to, establish a bond with the baby. But as far as nights alone, I'm guessing, that may involve some feeding. That may involve, you just watching the baby and making sure the baby's sleeping. So yeah, I think you just have to remind yourself that, this is a long journey. This is not... It might feel like, it's overwhelming and stressful, but you have to look at it as a long-term project. So, one little thing that you do isn't going to mess something up or ruin the routine or, do that. I think we often feel like, oh, the baby didn't sleep this, this time for this much, or so we get, really frantic about that. You'll be okay. Michael, my wife and I are expecting our first child in July. I already work from home. What tips do you have for me to manage the day-to-day care when wife goes back to her job? So when we had our first child, I was working from home, and I'll have to be honest and say that it was not easy. I would have the child on my lap and try to work. And if the baby's sleeping, then that's okay. But I had like this pillow thing, contraption, and the baby was like kind of there. Or you could wear the baby. You know, that might be something too, is like wearing the baby like a Bjorn or something, a harness. I personally think that it is very difficult to pay attention to two different things at the same time. You know, if you are parenting, it is very difficult to pay attention to your job, you know, and vice versa. When you are concentrating on something or having a meeting or doing whatever, it is very hard to be a parent at the same time. So one of the things I think I set out to do was have pretty clear designated times, you know, and if you can get assistance, that's even better. But I think it's to kind of know your limitations and know that, you know, you're not going to be perfect at everything. You know, holding the baby and trying to do an email or, you know, design or whatever it is that you do it's not an easy task. And I'm just being honest. It is hard to do both at the same time. So, hey, John, thank you. Appreciate the tip. That's pretty cool. Yeah, for anybody, you know, it really does support the channel. We have a thing, daduniversity.com/support, and you can go and sign up as a member. You can pay what feels good, but it helps us do videos like this. It helps create courses. It helps do additional videos. And, you know, a lot of this, it takes up a lot of time. You know, we have video, we have cameras, I have an assistant, all of this. And so, you know, it's a lot of work. And so, John, greatly appreciated for that tip. That's very nice of you. And that's what keeps this thing going, is our ability to do this is by those kinds of funds. So you can support the channel with a membership, which is, I think, you know, that's the best option, because then you get something like that out of it, which is access. The other is to just, you know, you can give like John did, as a one-time donation. And if you feel like doing that, that's awesome also. So you can just go, I think the URL is at the top of the screen, daduniversity.com/support. So thank you for that. Wow, they're coming in here. Coming in hot. Hey, Joseph. Hey, Johnny. What's happening? Let's see. Johnny, good evening. East Coast, son turning 2 in about 4 months. She's a stay-at-home mom. Seems convinced or concerned by TikTok that our son may be on the autism spectrum. Although I'm not with him 24/7, I feel that she may be overreacting or reaching on the topic. Am I wrong for thinking otherwise? Well, I don't know how long you've been married, but discounting your wife's thoughts or feelings, regardless of what they are, is never a good idea. You know, you kind of have to be politically correct, if you will, in how you approach that. So I think you might want to have a little bit more empathy. And so, you know, are you wrong? Is she wrong? No, let's not say who's right or wrong. But if she is concerned, I would take your child to the doctor and have some tests done. I mean, that's a valid thing. You know, whether there's some learning disabilities or some functioning that is different, you're going to want to know that, and you're going to want to know that early so that you can work with it and you can figure out what to do. I'm not a specialist in that area, but I do know, you know, it is something that's going to, if it is, you know, you're going to need special attention in certain areas and focus. So I think, you know, I've always, especially with children, it's kind of the better safe than sorry, even though you feel like you might be worrying too much or overreacting. You know, moms can do that, but at the same time, their intuition is often really good, and it's a reason why we need them. So in the big picture, I'd be hesitant to discount or argue in that way when your wife might feel something. Something you could just say is, hey, I understand you're really concerned about that. Maybe it's something that we should get checked into, versus you're overreacting. Our son does not have that. And the reason I'm guessing that you would do that is because, there's some fear or some emotions related to that idea. Like, we always want to think that there's nothing wrong with our children, but the reality is that stuff can go wrong. Or stuff can be concerning. So I would say check it out if you want to stay happily married. Let's see. So Donnie, this is interesting. I'm having a difficult time agreeing on a boy's name. Should I compromise or flip a coin? She is not letting me choose, and I want a biblical name. She wants a name that sounds cool. So here's was the solution that we had in my family, is that we knew we were going to have more than one child. So my wife said, if we have a girl, I'm naming the child, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts, because it was naming it after a relative. And so, and I was okay with that. But then she said, if it's a boy, you can name him, but we get final approval. So maybe there's some kind of compromise. Should you compromise or flip a coin? I mean, to flip a coin and then that's the name that's stuck. Are there some biblical or somewhat biblical related names that might be cool? Or you have a deal like that. Maybe that if you do know that you're going to have more than one child, you say, okay, how about you get to name the first child and I get to name the second child, or, vice versa, something like that. That's always an option. That's a good question, though. I mean, it's an important thing. It's an important thing that you like the name, or that you both like the name. For me, whether I liked the name or not, which I happen to, I knew it was really important for my wife to name our daughter after this person. So, I mean, that didn't bother me. I had love for the other person too, so it was okay. I guess if it was somebody that you didn't like and they wanted to name them after that might be a little different, but I'm gonna play something else. So Big YY. My girlfriend and I are turning 18 in a couple months and are expecting in late September. Lately, we've been on a downwards trajectory. Any tips? I don't want the kid to grow up with its parents separated. So, obviously when you're younger, it can be, a little bit more challenging. I think it's, this is some relationship advice, not parenting or father advice, but what I could say is, and this is a what if scenario, that if you should be separated, and if if it does go down that road, and I'm just talking because in case it does, that you do it amicably and you do it very lovingly, and you are 50-50 partners with the mom. That child is 50% yours. Do not settle for anything less. It's not weekends. It's not once in a while. You are 50% of that child's DNA. So I talk about this where a lot, especially younger people that are in these situations, and the girl's like, well, hey, I'm going to live with the child at my mom's house because it's 50% your child. And that child needs you as well. And so that's the one thing. Then on the relationship side, and another thing, if you do, look up conscious uncoupling. It's a really interesting way to go through the separation process if you go down that road. Now, the ideal is that you don't. And if you don't, I think the trajectory, if you need to figure out is, what is it that's troubling? If it's hormones and things like that, you can't take it personally. you want to be there for the child. You want to support her. You need to be empathetic. We have some relationship related videos within YouTube and within the course. I have a relationship course too within the membership, that if you are a member and you can pay what feels good, even the low dollar amounts, you still get access to the course. And there's a relationship course in there, and that talks about all the different things to do. So I think you just have to be diligent about wanting to stay together and understanding what it is that is causing the problem. And usually it's not one thing, and hopefully you two can work it out. Joseph Smith, I got my second cousin pregnant. How do we tell our family? I would say this with any situation, that whether, let's say, you're a young couple, you're an old couple, whatever it is, you're just honest. That's the only answer. There is not a how. You just discuss it with your family, because eventually people will know. So, all right, these things are coming through. Hold on. John, you had asked any tips on books. I'm actually not much of a book reader. I watch a lot of videos, or I did. I didn't enjoy the reading of the books. Now I read, or I do a little bit more on audio, but for me to just sit down and read a book is kind of rough. I don't learn well that way. I learned, through audio. So for me, listening to a book or an audio book is something better, but definitely not reading a book. I personally think that books on parenting are often very, I think sometimes they can cause more trouble than they do benefit. Not all the time, but when you start worrying too much about things, and sometimes these books do that. They say, well, here's what to expect, when you're expecting. And if this doesn't happen, then, something's wrong. I actually think that some of the benefits, or the types of books that you would benefit from, are things about gratitude, patience, financial, personal development. The things to make you, I don't say the word better, but enhancing your profile and enhancing your life as a person, because that is going to enhance your child's life. The idea of becoming more patient and more grateful and understanding empathy, and those are the things that I really want to teach and I try to do in my videos. These tips about a diaper rash, or how to hug a baby, or how to hold a baby, it's like, I know people want those subjects and they get views, but that's not what's important. What is important is the idea of, for me, the most powerful thing was me transforming from someone who yelled into someone who is calm and confident about my parenting. So that's the impact. Once you learn how to tie a diaper or feed a baby or, do something, it's like, you're an expert after that. It's then getting to the next stage, which is parenting, when the child gets to a toddler. And yes, there are techniques about communication and listening and, dealing with the child, and discipline and things like that. But it ultimately comes down to yourself. It's, how calm are you? How knowledgeable are you? How are you able to handle these situations? What kind of positivity and the impact that you're having around you, or around your family and the people. So those are the kinds of books I would suggest. Let's see. Taylor, thanks for your wisdom. Any advice on or keeping a toddler not just occupied, but intellectually engaged? So toddlers are very energetic and very creative. And I think sometimes when you can think about that in a way, so, it was, as an example, unless it's like at night, it's very, at least it was for us, and especially my son when he was our firstborn, very difficult for a toddler to sit quietly doing anything for an extended period of time. Even if you have a child who's really into reading or coloring or something or drawing, they only have so much of an attention span. So one of the things, we looked up activities for, a toddler, and a lot of it is creating these little games. We would create all kinds of things like obstacle courses around the house, or, we're picking up trash and we make the wastebasket into a basketball hoop, or, lining things up, or like just all kinds of games and activities that had action to them. Sitting there quietly, or even just passively, whether it's a book, an iPad, a computer, watching TV, whatever. Yes, sometimes that will work, but for us, it's activity, and that can even be physical activity as far as running, and so I think when you say intellectually engaged, one of the ways to do that is by getting them physically engaged. And I, again, not a toddler expert or a doctor, but if you look at, especially like in the schools that we have for our children in the younger grades, they had rocking chairs. And the reason they do that is because the kids have movement. They're especially the boys, they like to move a lot. They can't sit still. And so I think, you go to a restaurant and, someone gets upset that this toddler won't sit still. It's just not what they do. So think about that as you create things for them to do. Movement, lining things up. We played I Spy, where you would see things all over. We played all kinds of games. So I would be more inclined to look up like toddler games online or something like that, or do-it-yourself games, and especially obstacle courses. I've created more obstacle courses in my life when my kids were toddlers than you can imagine, and that's everything from like jumping on a pillow to then crawling under something, to then you had to line something up, then you had to throw something in the trash, then you had to go grab an apple, then you had to take a bite of the apple. I mean, you can just, they will have difficulty with the steps, and as they get older, they're a little better at it. But boy, is it fun, and it's fun for you too, and you can time yourself, and so those were always fun things for me. Let's see. Michael, he'd asked, how do we encourage friends and socializing if he is shy and disinterested? Well, it sounds like he's not yet. So I wouldn't worry. It's good to get ahead, but I wouldn't worry about something when you don't have it. But, socialization comes with practice. If you have a child that is shy, or that, kind of is more introverted, this is proven by psychologists, is that you do little steps. So I'll give you an example, is if, your child is, scared to go on the playground. They don't want to be around little kids. So you say, you know what? All we're going to do is drive by the playground and we're just going to look. That's it. And so, you go a couple times and you say, okay, now the next time, what we're going to do? You're not going to go into the playground, but we're just going to park the car and open the door. And you do that a couple of times until they feel comfortable. And so what it is you break down these steps of, instead of throwing your child to the wolves, be like, yes, get in there, go ahead, go do it. You can warm them up. And anyone who has phobias and is scared of things, this is the way to do it, is just taking those little steps and giving them. Because what happens is, I just was listening to something on this, is the little wins that you have are these little confidence boosters, and they produce the chemicals in your brain and in your body that gives you those little boosts of, I just did that. And then you want to reinforce it with your child by saying, did you see, we just drove by the playground and you did awesome. You didn't, you weren't bothered at all. And then, hey, do you know what? You just took a step towards the playground. Great, look at what you just did. You make it about them. You don't say that you're proud. I've got videos on that. You just make it about them and what they just accomplished. And I think with any kind of shyness, phobia, whatever, that's the way to do it. Start very small. Even with food, we kind of do that when they're like scared of food. You just take a little bite, or you just smell the food first, or they just touch it first, or and you take all of these little steps and you do that over and over and over again until eventually they are building that confidence. And taking it that way has a real big impact. And I've seen that even in my own life, like somebody who's scared of public speaking, or someone going to a networking event and you're just freaking out and just walk in there and then walk out. All right. And well, the next thing, walk in there another time and just say hello to somebody, and then the next time you go in, you say hello, and then maybe you ask a question. Like you just take it step by step and you break it down. And I think people really respond well in that way. It breaks it down and makes it much easier to digest. It's not as scary. But thank you. These are all great questions. Let's see what else. Hey, Dan. First-time dad in May, June. When our newborn sleeps in the day, does he need to go back into the bassinet, or does he need a dark room, or how? Well, yeah. So everyone has their own sleep patterns that there are some children, it doesn't matter. They'll plop out on the couch in the middle of the day with the TV going. I am of the belief that you want to be careful of how perfect of an environment you create. That everything has to be silent and dark. Yes, you do want to create an environment that is comfortable for the child and conducive to sleep. But you kind of figure that stuff out depend on your own child. For us, our especially our son, our firstborn, he stopped napping really quickly. Like he was sleeping through the night, and after a couple of months or so, and just we got a big stretch of hours, we couldn't believe it, and he just didn't want to nap anymore in the morning, and during the day. So I think every child is different, but yeah, you want to make the environment comfortable for the child, and that can be, sometimes it's sound. What I will say though is sleep experts, although comfortable, you also want to minimize distractions. I've read a lot about this and went through a sleep program for children. Having the mobiles up top and the sound and things, you got to be careful that it can be too distracting. There's too much going on. Bedtime needs to be boring. It's something where it's boring. There's not much to do, and so sleeping sounds really good. So you got to keep that in mind. Matt, wife is 37 weeks. Any advice for a first-time dad? Congratulations. Yeah, there's a couple things. We talk about this in many of the videos. My tips videos and some of the other ones, you look at some of the older videos. Don't take things personally. And you can think about that from taking things personally about the baby, because the baby might not, let's say the baby doesn't want to, cries when the baby's in your arms. Don't take it personally. Be empathetic towards your spouse or mom, the mom, however the relationship is, wife. Be empathetic, and that means think about things from her perspective and kind of look at it, that how much she's had to go through versus, they get the short end of the stick on this one. Yes, there's some amazing things about carrying a child, but the physical, the emotional, the hormones, they have to deal with so much more than we do. So be empathetic about that. The other is, think about compassion for yourself and take care of yourself. And that means taking time, both for mom and dad, take time for yourself. You have to recharge. You have to be good. You have to feel good. I'd say, eat well, make sure if you can exercise, reduce alcohol and caffeine content. There's all kinds of things that you can do to try to feel good, so that you are, available and alert and such. So, everyone talks about the sleep deprivation, and You get sleep and you make it through, and it works. It's okay. But you'll be awesome. You'll do well. You just, those are probably some of the top tips, and then watch some of the other videos, like getting the baby home from the hospital is another thing. There's some tips there. There's all kinds of stuff. Let's see what else. Anybody, let me know too, where is everybody from? I see, there's a good amount of crowd in here. Where are you joining us from? It's always nice to see where. I'm in North San Diego, so actually today is actually nice, but it's been a little bit, well, it's cold for us. Those in the cold weather will not say that it's cold, but also raining, and so Matt, you're welcome. Also, if you guys support the channel, you can go to daduniversity.com/support. A couple different ways. You can become a member. That's what I think is the best. And what you do is you get access to all of our courses, our videos, discussions, everything. You get access to that. You just pay what feels good. You pay, what feels good to you. Or the other is a one-time donation, which is awesome also. But, I think if you don't think you're going to go through the materials or you're not ready for it, that's okay too. And a one-time donation works, and we have a couple different ways that you can help that. But all of this stuff, like the donations, the memberships, and all that, it really does help. Actually, even just subscribing to the channel, if you're not subscribed, that's free. That helps. And because what it does is it gives us better, not say clout with YouTube, but
Better analytics.
Yeah, it just shows better analytics, gives us more data. And so we appreciate that. But if you do help, we've got cameras, stuff, time. A lot of this stuff takes time. If you watch those videos, those are not something that are just whipped up in a short amount of time. There's recording, scripting, editing, all kinds of things go on. And so, it's a lot of work. And if you've seen our courses, even more work. So we appreciate all donations, memberships, subscribe, all of that is really, really appreciated. It helps keep this thing going. And what else? So Matt's from New York, Michael's from Guatemala. It's cool. It's cool to see people from all over the place. I want to make sure I didn't miss any questions. If you have a question, throw it down in the chat. I'm happy to try to answer if I can. So the Harlem show, you said my boy's 9 and still having problems with the toilet. He had an x-ray and we have been taking his medications for around a year and he still has the same problems. I would suggest getting a different doctor. If something is not working, different doctor or different tests, but I wouldn't just rely on the fact that you're supposed to take medication and that's supposed to work. You need someone who's going to look at the situation holistically and understand it a little better. And so you need a second opinion. Here's the thing with me, like when things don't work, I just keep going and finding different things until something does work. And that's just my attitude. I'm not going to, especially medical. I've had all kinds of issues related to especially being working out and doing things. I have shoulder problems and leg problems and stuff. And somebody will say something. I'm like, okay, thank you. And then I'll go find somebody else who has a different opinion and collectively be able to gather information. People look at things in different ways. It's the same thing with dad advice. Yes, Dad University might have some awesome advice, but there might be other people who have some awesome advice. So, you collectively grab it, what you like and what you agree with, and then you do things the way that you want to do. So that's what being a parent's really cool is that, you get to decide how you want to parent. We provide some suggestions, we provide some guidance, but you get to decide what works for you and your family. And that's really, that's really what this is about. BCAT, I have a 17-month-old who's going to be going through a lot of life changes in the next 3 months. We're moving, new daycare. He's going to be a big brother. Any advice to help him through this? It sounds like you're already on the fact that you feel like, he's going to go through a lot of life changes. My prediction is that these life changes are going to be bigger for you than they are for the child. That's just my prediction. I don't know if I'm a psychic or not, but these might feel, big for you, and to the child they might not. You don't know. I would say just being empathetic, again, the same that I suggested for the other person about their spouse. Just being sensitive to the fact that these could be changes, and your child might have some difficulty, and so looking at it from his perspective of like, wow, this is really hard, and just being there for him. And I think that those are all valid concerns, and it sounds like you are in tune with your child, so I think doing that's not going to be very difficult. Let's see what else we got. Well, Brian's asking about the autism. Maybe other people have some perspective. Even if he does everything else well, because you might be trying to justify it. There's nothing wrong with getting the child checked out. I think, like I said, better safe than sorry. Like, why wait? If there is a valid concern, just have tests done, and it's probably, everything comes back. You'll figure it out whether it's good or not. But if other people have some comments, they can go into the chat and check it out. Raider Reaper, good to see you here. Jacob, good to see you. So I just had a Jacob's asking about what's your advice on dealing with in-laws at the hospital. Okay, so I just did a video on in-laws, and here's this, like, the gist of it. You, as the in-law, have to be very, very careful that you're not, like, stepping over family lines. My mother was the one who told me this and said, listen, if there is a big deal or something concerning, or you allow your wife to handle it with your family and you handle it with your family. Because what can happen is, when you're a blood relative, it's your family, your parents, your brother, sister, whatever, you can say stuff, do stuff, whatever. They're still good. For some families, you cross some line, or they don't have as good a relationship with you, even when the ones that have good relationships, you can find yourself on the outs. You can say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing. They can interpret it wrong. All kinds of stuff can happen, and it can mess a lot of things up. So in dealing with in-laws at the hospital, I think you have to really understand the wishes of your spouse or mom, and she needs to communicate that to the family beforehand, because she's not going to want to deal with it at the hospital. So whatever her wishes are, hey, I only want one person at a time, or hey, I don't want to see anybody until Tuesday, or hey, whatever. She has to be very, very specific. Otherwise, she's going to have to deal with it now, you can be cordial and you can say, hey, this is her wishes. I'm just making sure that, this is what she wants. And so, like, not to say you can pawn it off on her, but since it's her family, you can. Now, if you have issues with with her family, then you need to talk to her about that. But then she still has to be the one to communicate it. This is not something for you to communicate. So I hope that explains what I'm talking about. But if there is a specific issue with the in-laws at the hospital that you're talking about, throw it in the chat. I'll see if I can answer it. Let's see. Let's see. Anybody else? Let me go back, make sure I didn't miss anything. Rodimus Prime, good to see you. Yeah, all these new faces in here. New names. D, or Dan, maybe I think it was, you're a space geek and have just put glow-in-the-dark stickers and light shade in their room. Do you think that might be too stimulating at night? It could be. It could be a little distracting. I think, one thing you have to think about for the child is, it's their room, not yours. I know, like you said, if you're a space geek and you love that, but maybe you could put, those stickers in a different room or like in a closet or in somewhere where you could take the child at certain times, especially as they, if they're brand new, they may, or it's kind of hard to say, but as they get a little bit older, like that might be like a cool thing to like go into the room where the night sky is or something. But, by default, hard to say. You can see if they're distracting. For some kids, they might be. For others, they may not. We think of them as really cool as adults or even as kids. But for babies, they might get distracted, but that could be trial and error. That's a good question, though. I love those things. I love those things on the walls. In fact, when our kids were toddlers, we did it. I mean, we had huge murals on the walls and stuff. So if anybody was it was distracting, I could see it being distracting. And we had like the mobiles and the sound. And until I like read these books and went through these courses about babies sleeping, then we changed all that. And so, look up it online, do a Google search for "get your baby to sleep," and you'll see all those there's all kinds of courses and things about that. Everyone has a different opinion. Everyone has a different style. I think it's what you're comfortable with and what works for your child, which is what all this stuff is. Yeah. So Jacob, the idea, like I appreciate that. Like you said, I want to, Jacob's talking about his in-laws and avoid stepping on toes since it's the first grandchild for all of it. One of the things that's hard, this is hard as a parent, is that feeling of sharing, especially like, and I know that moms probably have sometimes more difficulty with this than the dads do. Although you want to share your baby with the world eventually, the initial response when you first have the child is like, you just want to hold it, keep it safe. You don't want anybody around. I mean, that's how a lot of people are. And what you come to realize too, if you can step outside yourself a little bit, is that all of these other people who are part of the family are also enjoying the birth of the child. And so, when you put it in the perspective, or when you look at the perspective of one of those other people, granted, it's not, quote, their child, but it is their grandchild. And you can kind of just take a step back a little bit and appreciate that all of these, especially if there's a whole bunch of people that love this child, there's going to be a bunch of people that love this child, which is awesome. This child's going to have family around them and support around them. And you want to honor that, I think. Looking back, like that was something that was important. My parents and her parents and just having, the family there was an important thing. Now, of course, you don't want it to be overwhelming, and so you want to make sure, mom feels good and mom, you respect her wishes for that. But, you will have time with the child, plenty of time. And, I think when the rest of the family gets to experience that, they will feel close, they will feel a bond with the child that is only going to benefit the child. And ultimately, it'll probably benefit you too, because you'll have a support system around you. You want to go out, or if they're close by, or if you need some help, or you want to go away for the weekend, or, it's going to come in handy. So I think fostering those relationships is important. All right. Raider Reaper, says, so my girl moved from Orange County and the insurance company transfer took 3 months. She's now 1 week from the due date and haven't seen a doctor for prenatal care since the 20th. I would get in there. Is there any other way to seek an OB help other than referral by insurance? I'm sorry, I don't know. I would contact See, this is how I would do it. I would contact the hospital. I would contact the existing doctor that you had, tell them about the situation. What do they recommend? I would call, if you do have insurance, I would call the insurance company. Otherwise, you end up, you could pay cash, or there's like state assist stuff probably. But yeah, I think you're gonna have to make some phone calls and find out. But that's above my pay grade. I'm sorry that I'm not aware of that. But I do appreciate the questions. I wish I knew all the answers to all this. So what else we got? This time slot seems to be good. It's funny. We tried a live not too long ago, and this live's great. I'm glad people are participating. But sometimes, you pick a time and people aren't around or people aren't there. And sometimes it doesn't work. So thank you everybody for participating. It's greatly appreciated. If anybody has any last questions or topic ideas, I love topic ideas. I can only generate so many topics on my own. With over 300 something videos, we've covered a lot of topics. And so it's always great if other people have some ideas. What else? Of course, again, you guys, if you aren't already subscribed, I forget. I need to look at the stat. It's only like 30% or 40% of the people who watch, or maybe it's, I don't know, we can look at it, of the people who watch my videos are subscribed to the channel. We need to get that number higher. It has to be much higher than that. And so if you are somebody who watches the videos, please subscribe to the channel. Also, if you want to help out, daduniversity.com/ I love those little graphics that go on the screen. Yeah, Luke's doing that. daduniversity.com/support. You can become a member, pay what feels good, or you can donate. I'd say get the membership, because then you get access to courses and our discussion groups and 300 something videos, all broken down by the age of your child or the subject matter. Boxers or briefs, both. Depends on the situation. Macru, I appreciate that. Actually, even Sue, boxer briefs are even really good. So, yeah, I think it totally depends on the situation. There's no way you're going to catch me in the gym wearing boxers or playing some sport. So, just that's the way it goes. Hey, Raider, thank you. Appreciate that. That tip. Yeah, I mean, people provide tips and things like that. That's also very, very welcome. We spend a tremendous amount of time on these videos, scripting, editing, recording, just all kinds of idea generation. And then we have equipment and doing these, and it's a lot. And so it is greatly appreciated when people help out. It helps us be able to, spend more time doing this. So every penny counts, and we appreciate it. So I just want to thank everybody. Tons of gratitude for being on here, and great questions today too. Some new ones. A lot of times we get a lot of the same questions, but some great new questions, and that's appreciated. So be safe, be empathetic. That's another thing I tell everybody. And new videos coming soon. We're making a bunch of them. And if you have topic ideas, throw them in through the website or the chat. We love that. And anything else you want to discuss, let us know. And as I usually say at the end of the videos, we will see you soon. Take care.
When I found out we were going to have a baby, I was so excited. I was also full of anxiety and fear because I knew nothing about children or being a father. So I began learning. I took parenting classes, did research, got certifications, and most importantly, experienced mistakes that I learned from. And while there was a lot of information and communities for moms, there wasn't many resources for dads. And so I decided to take action and began building Dad University. Dad University is a one-of-a-kind educational platform for dads to help you achieve your full potential as a father. We help you go from overwhelmed and confused to calm and confident father with our courses, our videos, live broadcasts, support forum, and more. When you become a member, you get unlimited access to everything. The pricing for our monthly membership is pay what feels good. Education, the community, the tools that you will get here are priceless. But we also understand that everyone values them differently. And as such, we give you the choice of what you want to pay. How much is peace of mind worth to you? Click on Become a Member and get started today.